Welcome to my quick and easy day 1 Vardorvis guide. Vardorvis is located in the exact same areas as the Desert Treasure 2 quest, so I won't go over how to get here. From initial testing it seems slash is the way to go here, so bring your best melee gear and a slash weapon, as well as a defense reducing special such as a Dragon Warhammer or BGS. It does seem to have fairly high defense, so at the minute I do think these are the best options. Before we get into it, this is a day 1 guide, so gear recommendations could change, but the mechanics and fight overview here will help you out whether you watch this now or in a year's time. Just make sure to check the recommended gear over on the wiki just in case things change. The Vardorvis fight is one of my favourites, however during the run there you will get damaged slightly by the Strangled. Run through, climb over the rocks, and then you can safely eat up to full and pot up ready. Vardorvis will only attack you once you enter its arena and attack it. Vardorvis attacks with melee, so make sure to keep Protect from Melee up for the majority of the fight. He can hit through prayer, but the majority of the damage during this fight will be dealt to you via its special attacks. Vardorvis has 4 special attacks. First, let's go over the major threat, the swinging axes. During the entire fight with Vardorvis, axes will continuously spawn in the arena, and you must quickly identify a safe area to move to avoid them. If an axe hits you, it not only damages you, but also causes you to bleed for 3 damage for a short period of time. These axes are 3x3 in size, so they are quite hard to avoid, but I would recommend identifying a corner that is safe and moving to it as soon as possible. Moving to avoid these should be a top priority. Also, avoid standing in the centre of the arena as most of the axes do pass through there. At the beginning of the fight, Vardorvis will only spawn 2 axes, but as the fight progresses, he'll spawn 3. So be very careful. Next, we have homing spikes. This is a fairly simple mechanic where Vardorvis spawns spikes on the floor, and if you're standing on them as they pop out, you will take damage, much like the Musper fight. You can simply avoid these by paying attention to the floor when it does the attack, but you do have to be fairly quick, so do be careful. Next, we have the biggest threat next to the swinging axes, the spawn. The spawn fires a ranged projectile at the player, and if it makes contact, your prayers will be disabled for around 6 ticks. Meaning Vardorvis can melee the player for free without any form of protection. Avoiding this on paper is fairly simple. You can pray protect from missiles and then you will not get your prayers turned off, and then quickly swap back to protect from melee for Vardorvis. However, in practice this is very difficult, as situations like this can occur. Finally, we have my favourite mechanic out of all of the Desert Treasure 2 bosses, the virus, which causes the player's screen to turn red and 3 to 8 blobs will spawn. You must turn on your shooter aimbot here, as you have to click all of them as fast as possible. Failure to do so will result in a lot of damage, and I believe each one clicked mitigates more and more damage. If focused, this should be fairly easy, but it is a lot of fun. And that's honestly it for the boss fight. Putting it all into practice together though is very difficult, so let's look at a fairly sped up full kill and explain our thought process at each part. Firstly, we're going to send our Warhammer specs to try reducing its defense, then just attack the boss whilst praying melee and doing your best to avoid the axes. This is its first spike attack. I took damage here, but just watch the floor and move to a location that's safe. Our first spawn, just flick to protect from ranged as the missile hits you, then swap back to melee ASAP. This will prevent as much damage as possible. As soon as these pop up, click them as soon as possible. There seems to be less earlier in the fight and more later, so bear that in mind. Now he's started to spawn 3 axes, so it's getting a little bit scary. Make sure to focus from here on out. And that's basically the entire fight. Just make sure to focus, dodge the axes, protect from missiles on the spawn, and you'll start to get kills 100% of the time with a little bit of practice. I love this boss, and you probably will too. But that's basically it. I made a lot of mistakes during this fight, but if this helped out, make sure to subscribe, as the other 3 bosses will have similar guides to this one coming soon. Good luck on the uniques, gamers.